Hey guys, Micah here from Micah Doodles. Hey, just wanted to show you some things. Today I was sketching around with this hot rod design, kind of came up with some ideas. Again, you guys remember when I'm doing my drawings, I've got my horizon line that I draw on here, and everything kind of fits within this kind of egg shape oval that I use to kind of define my parameters of where the car is going to go from the front to the to the rear. And then kind of slanting it all at a line like this. So from this design, basically I went in and did a more detailed pencil sketch of this, just kind of walk through in this tutorial to kind of give you guys an idea. Now what I want to do is I want to take this same idea and I want to take this and I want to I want to ink it out for you guys, kind of show you what that would look like. So I've actually grabbed a couple colors that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be laying this drawing down in probably a yellow color. So I picked my yellows here. I've got PM 123 and PM 18. I've also got going to be using some blues, some light blues, PM 48 and PM 141 to lay down for some chrome colors. I've got some grays I'm going to be using, PM 114, as well as PM 116 and probably PM 109 as well. So those are just ones that I'm going to be kind of touching on. But let's get started here with this drawing. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to lay down my darker areas. And those darker areas are going to be the PM 109. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit those in there right now. And that's going to be the inside of this grill. I'll just lay that down there real quick. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. So again, my first coat on this is always going to be just kind of light, kind of messy, but it's just going to kind of define the parameters of where this is at. Let's see here. I'm putting in some, I don't know if you guys can totally see that, but what I'm doing is I'm basically just putting in the gray areas. I can also take this on my tires. I'm going to use this color as well on those tires because I'm going to go back in and darken them over later. So just to kind of nail them out here, I'm going to put those in as well. There we go. Wrap that guy around like that. Now the cool thing with these colors is you're going to layer them up. So, you may look like, oh man, you're not, you're kind of messing it up, but just trust me. It looks like it goes on sloppy, but when we're all done, it's going to really look cool. Now, sometimes you can do your tires, you can go darker from the start. I'm just happening just to choose to go lighter this time because I'm laying down my light base colors and I really want to nail those things down first. So that's why I'm choosing to do that. Again, I can do that with my wheels inside as well. That's probably what I'll do. I'll go in here with a lighter color like that. Okay, roughly something like that. So it's kind of pretty simple right now. Not a whole lot of detail in there, and that's okay. Then again, I want to take my highlighted colors, my PM 48, and start adding some where I would have chrome or where chrome would be. Again, I'm going to just detail the top parts of that. That's going to pick up the reflections of the sky. Same idea with these rims. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of hit certain areas in there to pick up. Okay, and I may do that around here as well. This is going to have a chrome trim piece around the edge, so I'm going to kind of run that in there. Again, on my headlights, same thing. I'm going to hit the tops like that. Okay. Now on these headlights, I'm gonna pull PM 141. I'm gonna basically drop it down here because I'm kind of basically building up on these lights here. Now on this tire, I'm going to touch it. Normally on my drawings I wouldn't touch it, but I'm going to touch it on this because I'm going to go back in and show you guys what my white pen's going to do when I outline that. So this is kind of giving you guys just a real rough here so far. And then for my spokes, I'm going to just basically kind of fill in how these spokes are going to go like this so that I know and that you guys know, as you can kind of see it, because right now it's pretty light. you guys are going to get an idea of what that car is going to start looking like. So roughly, everything's real rough. Everything's kind of developed here, and so now I'm going to start hitting my yellows in. So I'm going to start out with my lighter yellow, my 18, and again I'm going to pull it from the top and I'm going to slide it back like this. All this stuff here is going to be added to, but it's just to basically lay down my base coat first. Again, everything's kind of smooth strokes, not a whole lot of detail yet. Okay. Got it. Okay, kind of simple like that. I could make that yellow or whatever. That's fine. Okay, this piece comes down like this. I'm going to run this like this, and it's going to wrap behind it like that. There we go. Kind of something like that. Okay. Add in a couple more pieces in here. Some suspension, things like that. Bottom of the lights. Real simple. Now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start defining the areas of this car. Since I've almost got it pretty much sketched out like I want it, roughly. Here's the seats there. I'm gonna then take my black marker here, my Sharpie marker, and I'm going to begin to go over those things and kind of define the areas of this car. So I'm putting in my ground from there. Okay, then I'm going to go over and I'm going to start tracing it. Now this tracing it is pretty important because this is really going to make your car stand out. Kind of real simple like that, but now you can start to see this car starts to have some definition here. There we go. We'll just kind of keep it like that. Then I'm going to go back inside. I'm going to start adding my black and my darker areas within this car. Those are going to be the inside of the spokes, or inside of the wheels and the rims. So I'm going to kind of add these shapes. If you can start getting to see objects as shapes, not what they are, but see the shapes inside of them, because those shapes inside of them are gonna help you to define what's going on inside to make it become and make it look more realistic. Okay. There we go, something like that. So you can kind of start seeing this thing coming together here. On this drawing, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take a darker now, let's just say what is it? I'm going to take a 114, and I'm going to come over my wheels, and I'm going to do something a little bit differently than I've done before. Normally, I do the whole thing in this color, but for this one, I'm going to trace it. Trace where my black tire would go, around it like this. Okay. Just kind of defining the outside edge. Now notice when I'm down here, I'm not completing my circle, because this is in the perspective, it's beyond. So it's just to show that it's coming and showing motion over the top. Okay. So this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shadow these up like this. Okay. So everything darker here is going to be 114. Okay, I'm going to create a shadow. Again, for this reason, I'm going to touch this wheel here just to blend it in. Now the pen goes on dark, but it's going to lighten itself up, and that's okay. So just to kind of show what's going on here, I also want to put a shadow in here as well. Kind of something simple like that. I'll put a shadow down here. where this light meets. Maybe I'll touch the shadow up in there, things like that. So we'll leave it like that so far. So things are starting to come together on this. Again, I can add shadow lines in here where the suspension is, things like that. And the cool thing about this is your eye, you don't have to put in all the details. Your eye's going to know and realize that something goes there. It may not have to be perfectly like exactly as it's shown, but if it looks pretty realistic, your eye is going to kind of make up the difference and show that, hey, this is okay. I'm going to take my PM141, I'm going to ink in my windshield. Again, these are just going to be pressed down hard. My strokes are just going to move from one side to the other like this to kind of give that an idea, so it kind of fades as well. Again, I can do that same thing on my spokes if I want. Kind of kick underneath it like that. There you go, add underneath my spokes. Now things are starting to come together. This is going to be a chrome piece in here, so I'm going to start kind of darkening it up and adding some stripes and some lines in there. Again, what you can do too with this 114 is you can actually take your 114 and begin to trace some lines on here. So we have a basically rough idea with tires, but what I like to do with tires is I actually like to put the inside of the tread on there. So I'm going to take the same color and I'm just going to follow the contour of this line and I'm going to bring it down around like this. Okay, something like that. Okay. There you go. So now this thing's starting to take shape. Again, on this too, since this is a darker color, I'm adding some dark highlights. And that's going to basically define the horizon line on this car, which actually helps when you start to do chrome. You need to have a dark side, which reflects the ground or the horizon. Your lighter side is going to reflect the sky. Same thing when I'm laying in these rims. Probably what I'll do is I'll ink them in first, and then I'll tackle that. But for now, let's do this. Now I'm going to use my PM123 and start defining on this edge what's going on here with this car. And again, this is a different color. This is basically my shadow. So again, this color is a little bit darker. It's going to go on darker, but it's going to define what's going on here on this car. So that way when I add my highlights, it looks more realistic, because this side of the car is going to be darker than what's going on over here. Okay. There we go. Just kind of use that as a rough guide, like that. That lays that guy down. Again, if I wanted to, I could always add, you know, yellow seats in there or something kind of fun, you know, if I was going to do that, which is cool. Okay, so now basically I've come to a spot where I feel pretty comfortable with it. Again, I can darken this in too here. Everything inside of here can be darkened up where it touches. Okay, same thing, you can add pieces in there. Again, since I know my shadow's on top, you can go over these with these gray markers and kind of add some depth and dimension in here as well. There we go. You can also use these over the top of the yellow, which then does the same thing. I'll probably add a shadow back here as well on this tire, but you can kind of see what it's doing here. Same thing in here. Anytime that you're going to have an object, a darker object, in front of a lighter object, if you want to make that thing pop out, you're going to want to darken it up here so that this object in front comes out. Same thing with right here. I would do the same thing if I want that light to really stand out from this tire. I'm going to want to go around and darken that thing up so that that tire comes forward. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to then take my Sharpie marker like this, just a simple Sharpie, and then I'm going to start going over and I'm going to start detailing in this vehicle. Now it's when you start adding these details here that this vehicle will start really coming to life. And because I'm using typing paper or computer paper, I'm running into a little obstacle that I typically wouldn't run into when I'm inking a drawing. Normally I don't use computer paper. Normally I use a heavier weight cardstock, like an 80-pound, which really alleviates any bleeding. And so this paper really absorbs the ink, and so it looks like it's bleeding a lot. And so what I'm trying to do is do this tutorial here without, to kind of cut some corners here, just to show you. But I know that I'm also running into some problems here with what's going on. So here I'm just painting down the rough of this, and then when I go back in and I highlight this up and add some detail, it'll really kick. There we go. Again, this is so important, guys, is this when you're adding these lines, because these lines really define what's going on. And so as soon as you get that in there, and they can be loose and they can be rough, that's okay. The goal is you just want to have fun with it. And you'll kind of start figuring out your style as you ink it more. You'll get kind of comfortable with what seems to work, and you'll make mistakes, and that's okay. There we go. Take this line over here. Just draw that down like that. I'm going to take this thing. Again, it's kind of sloppy, but that's okay. I can always go back in here and fine tune with my black pen what that looks like in there. All right. There we go. And I'll start drawing in the body of what's going on here. I've got this guy's going to come around like that. This hood's coming down. Now again, what you could do with those is you could take your marker as well and draw in your line. Sometimes what's easier to do is to take your marker and hit your sketch lines like this first, and then go back over it with your pen, so then you know exactly where they go, you know how thick they are and things like that. But for this exercise, I'm just basically already put them in to show you. Okay, again, when I'm doing this, now I know where everything's at. I can just kind of sketch around and kind of make it work. You could always darken it up like this as well. I'll just darken that up like that. There we go. Then I'm going to kind of start adding some details in here, things that I had placed in here. Again, as I said, I got these shapes now with these lines. I can go over them and start kind of fine-tuning them, adding some details and whatnot, kind of making them look more realistic. Okay, so now what I want to do is, so far I'm this much into it. Now that I've got kind of my idea of what's going on here, now I can start adding tread to this. And the tread's very simple. These lines are stroked down like this. Then they just connect this way. Same thing, follow the same pattern that you did. Make sense like that? Okay. Sometimes you can, even if you wanted to, take your line this way, follow it all the way down. And then just follow it and go all the way down. And the black, the shadow here is going to basically kind of cover up what's going on, so you can kind of get an idea and see. You don't have to put in everything, but this is the way I typically do my tread. Okay, something like that. Pretty simple. It really kind of depends on the tire you're putting on. If you're doing an old hot rod and it's a radial, then obviously it's not going to look like this. It's going to have probably some texture on the side of it here. These basically have lower profile tires on it, so that's why they look like that. But it just depends what you want to do. The important thing is just to have fun with it and practice. You'll figure out what style you have, what works and what doesn't. There we go, real simple like that. Okay. And then again, I can always go in here, darken up my chrome areas. Now, anytime where I've got, again, I can sharpen this up with this pen to kind of really add, so it becomes a lot clearer what's going on inside there, as well as inside here. What you want to do also with your grays, when you're done, is you want to definitely develop your shadow line, like what's going on here. You know, stroke the bottom of that, again, up here, because you're going to get some overlap with that tire. That's going to cast a shadow on that. So these rim things are going to have shadows underneath them like that. Make sense? Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, let me put in my line here, basically my door. I'm just going to rough in a door. There we go. Put a little Microdoodle steering wheel on here, like that. Okay, now I'm going to start tackling some of these areas that I didn't quite get to before, but I want to kind of show you what's going on. This kind of the same idea. If I was going to do chrome, I want to do darker on the bottom. Okay, I want to go lighter on the top. So then I could either hit it with this lighter blue up like that, pulling that in there. Okay, so with this grill, what I'm going to do is I'm taking my 114 and I'm going to go dark in here, because I'll show you why. Either you can add black lines in here, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to actually add white highlight pen lines in there. And on a dark surface, it's going to stand out a lot better than it would on a lighter surface. You're going to see it a lot more clear. Okay, just add that in there like that. Again, I'm just kind of going through and fine-tuning some things on here as well. You know, with details and chrome and whatnot. There you go. Makes sense, like that. Looks like I didn't get to hit this one down very well. There we go. Okay. So you notice the stuff inside here stands out against this background because it's a lighter color. And so you have to kind of think about that when you're inking this stuff in. If you come to a spot where you've got a dark color against a lighter color, or you want to make it stand out, feel free and use your pen and begin to outline that. So now that I'm at this level right now, I'm going to take my, actually let me put in the ground real quick to show you guys what another thing. On this ground, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a shadow, because this front piece here is sticking over. So, and then I'm going to basically create a shadow of what's going on here. So either I can darken up this, like say I'm getting a reflection of or I'm getting a shadow of the tires. There we go, something kind of like that, roughly. Then I could go back in here and darken this up. There you go. I do that to add a little bit of motion on there. Then again, any place you want to add shadow on here, say this thing rounds like that, you can always hit it with a gray, which adds a little bit of shadow inside here as well. You can use shadow, stroke lines like this help out as well. Just adding a little bit of depth on that. Inside of the car. Okay, makes sense. Something simple like that. Okay, when I get to this spot, now notice in here, these colors are kind of blending together. So what I'm going to do on this is there's a couple things you could do. You can either go over it again with, you could leave the color here, one color, and go over again to make this darker. But here's the deal. Since I've already inked it in with pen, this pen is going to bleed if I hit it, but I'm going to do it anyway to show you. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going over. This is the same color that I originally did earlier, but it always goes on darker. Okay. So now you see that basically definitely popped that out from that wheel. You can either layer these colors or you can leave them as they are. It really depends. When you're done, looking at it, you can say, yeah, I could add some more dark, to that, some shadow to that, or it's okay. It's really your decision. You kind of, basically think about it. But I like it actually darker. I think it looks better. So again, I'm going to put a second coat of this 114 on here. And I'll do that as well. And when I come around here, I'll hit it again. We got the same problem. But I can solve that for you real quick. Okay, starting to blend together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white Molotow gel pen here. And this pen is pretty cool. You're going to take this, and anywhere where you have an image that touches another one, you want to outline it. Like, for instance, let me show you this real quick. Let me just make sure and touch that so that this, okay. So anywhere where this thing touches, I'm going to outline it with this white pen. Okay? I'm going to go around the edge of this line, just a little bit to the left of it, or the right of it, I'm sorry. See how that kind of pops that pops that thing out? You can also do that here. You can touch this circle, so that way that tire then pops out from that. Again, over here, you could do the same thing. You could touch it there, where it hits here, the edge of your car. You could do the same thing. You want that to kind of bring it forward, everything else to recess. Then I'm going to start kind of hitting some highlights. I use this pen to add highlights or sparkles or light reflections anywhere in my chrome. So as long as it's on a dark surface, it's really going to pop out. Okay? Now, all right, that looks pretty good. I could, obviously go like that, put a highlight, draw a highlight down here. I could come in and, do my lines like that if I wanted to. There's all sorts of things you could do to have fun with this car when you're at that level and you figure out what you want to do. Another key thing to do, if you're afraid to lay down ink, make a photocopy. Make a photocopy of your vehicle, your pencil sketched lines, and then practice inking on that. Because then, if you mess up, all you got to do is start over, and you haven't lost your original design. So this one I sketched up just to make it work for this way. So now these colors are basically done. So I'm going to kind of add a little bit of sparkle and shine in here, a little glimmer. Another key trick that I like to do is just to go a little bit inside of this black to kind of highlight the inside of this lip here. It kind of makes that pop out as well. There we go, like that. I could accent the sides of this, but see where this touches here? What I want to do is I really want to define where the edge of this tire is, because that's important, because it kind of gets lost within this white. And so I'm kind of putting that little arc there to wrap that up and to show where that's at on both of these. Okay. Now on this spot right here, I've got, it looks like a line that comes in here and catches that. Again, I'm just going through, adding up in there. I know that my just going just underneath it. Okay, now this is going to be cool. So what's going to happen here now is I can add a reflection on this light, Now what we want to do here is I want to basically add this grill in here. So this is why I went dark on here, because now when I add this white line, this is really going to stand out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my center line to this. here, I'm going to trace just to the right of the line that I drew. Okay? That's going to be basically dividing it right and left. So this light here is going to be darker, but I want to show those whatever those rods are in there. There we go. See that? Kind of putting like it's like harp strings. But see how much that really pops that thing out with having that white on there? So sometimes if you know you're going to have a darker area, fill it in all dark. Go dark on it and go back and add that white line and see what it does to it. Because sometimes it just really makes that drawing come alive. So I think that's about it. The other thing you could do too is if you wanted to highlight your lines, you could always do this. Go back in and take your white outline pen and go over the lines you just did. See how that kind of gives you like a little bit of reflective surface on there? But anytime you've got a darker area like that, it'll really make it come alive. But be careful, don't add too much white. Otherwise you'll wash everything out. You kind of want to use it like flavoring, like salt. Okay? So I'm just using that to accent what's going on here. All right, see that like that? Again, you can always, add some highlights, sparkles in here if you want, things like that. That's still pretty rough in here, but if I was gonna, what I would do is with this area, these areas in here, if I wanted to darken these things up, I would put a white line in there so that it really stood out from here. There we go, like that. It begins to stand out like that. And then what I like to do, anytime that this thing hits the ground, I like to take my white pen over that darker area and kind of draw that in like this. Okay, what that's going to do, that's going to help define the edge of that as well. But then you can, kind of put, I like to put little, I don't know, dirt or traction on here so it kind of looks, that it's on a road or whatnot. And then on this one, I'll just sign my name. There we go. So basically, that's a real simple idea on how to do hot rod, how to do hot rod art. Again, I stay within that shape. I could go over it again with a different color. Adding to that, I could boost up my shadows on here as well if I wanted to do that. It's kind of just about layering. So really, but just have fun with it. Figure out, what works, and then just try it out. So anyway, hope that guys helps.